Welcome to
the most epic Holly Jolly
Christmas Showdown.
I'm Amanda Figueroa.
And I'm Adriana York, formerly Figueroa.
And we are two sisters who love Christmas and competition. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
If you are watching this is something very new. We have finally delved in and committed to video podcasting.
Is that the word? Delved in?
Delved in.
Is that a word?
Yeah. Delve. You just go into it. It's a word.
Wow.
Yeah.
It feels funny. Anyways.
But yeah, now we're here and we're doing it.
Yeah, we are.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
It's just really weird for us right now, to be honest. Like the whole setup, and then we had an interesting time figuring this out. So,
yeah.
For those who have a knack for it, good for you. We realized we need to do a lot of research.
Yeah. Even though I felt like we did a good bit of research, but there's like so much more to learn.
Yeah, a lot. But we're gonna make do. So this is our little setup for right now.
If you've been curious about what we look like,
this is what we look like.
Hi.
Hi.
I really need to stop like messing with my hair while we're on video. But I'm just keeping like, oh, I gotta look good.
Yeah. And she fully dressed up and I'm wearing sweats.
Well, for other reasons.
Yeah.
Just many different reasons. Okay, anywho.
Alright. So this is game time.
Season 2!
Season 2. It's starting up right now. And I'm just so excited. I think once we were like committing into it, we were going into it and we started watching that first movie. I was excited.
Yeah, more fuzzy feelings for sure.
Yes. And this lineup, like we talked about, it's a good one.
It is.
Yeah. So
very much so a good one.
I'm really excited. But before we get into our first movie of 2024, our weekly Christmas cheer. Daily. What was that?
Yeah.
Our weekly Christmas cheer.
Yeah. So for me, it was just like perfect. Yesterday, we had meant to record yesterday, but like we said, we needed to figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was going downstairs, like getting my stuff to get ready to record, I slipped into my house slippers, which they're of course Christmas themed, but I just like looked at them differently. I was like, oh my gosh, like a little bit of Christmas every single day. And I keep finding myself wearing my Christmas socks, and it just brings me so much joy. Like I want somebody to see my socks and ask me like, why are you wearing Christmas socks year round? And I want to tell them because Christmas should be year round.
Yeah. My weekly Christmas cheer is I'm wearing this sweatshirt. I love it. I think it used to be yours, and then I have it, but it's Christmas Calories Don't Count. And I've been wearing it, like, all the time. Because it's just a really nice sweatshirt to put on. But I was like, it just reminded me of, like, those good old days. And then, again, if I'm wearing it and I'm baking something, I'm like, it feels right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Let me touch it. Yeah, it's one of those.
It's one of those.
It's like a pullover. It's not like a sweatshirt.
Yeah. It's fairly thin. It's just nice and big.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're new here, now we actually know how these episodes work again. Yes. But if you're new here, what you can expect is we are going to jump into a summary of our movie. We kind of do a fairly detailed summary, so if you don't want any spoilers and you want to go see the movie first, take a pause. You can find this movie on Netflix. It is called The Christmas Chronicles, and so watch it and then come back if you don't want any spoilers. But if you're okay with a spoiler, keep listening because we're going to tell you all about the movie. And then we're going to jump into our scoring. So how we score our movies is out of 5 candy canes, and we have 5 different categories, which are plot, main character, aesthetic, overall Christmas cheer, and supporting characters. And then at the end, we will round it off with our cringe factor because if you've watched Christmas movies, you know that there's often a little bit of cringe in there, so we have to take that into account, and then we'll come up with the total and see where the movie falls in the lineup.
Yep. And that's basically it. So without further ado, let's get into it.
The Christmas Chronicles is a Netflix production, and we are introduced to the Pierce family through a series of home videos. With the gift of a video camera in 2007, Mr. Pierce begins to document Christmas through the years with his family, where we get to see things like their family growing, the highs and lows of the sibling relationship, and the overall joy of Christmas that the family shares. The last video we see is in 2017, when we pan out to see Kate Pierce reminiscing on the good times on Christmas Eve of 2018. The house that was once so elaborately decorated and filled with laughter and excitement is now only partially decorated, dark and quiet. We then learn that Kate and Teddy's dad, Mr. Pierce, had recently passed, and with him, the Christmas cheer of the Pierce family. Kate then decides to record a video letter to Santa, pleading her niceness and making her request for this year's gift to Santa. Teddy walks by and sees his sister recording the video letter, enters Kate's room, and shortly starts to hear Kate bad-mouthing him to Santa.
Yikes.
This results in a scuffle for the camera where Teddy gets dangerously close to telling Kate that Santa isn't real, when he has a change of heart and instead tells her that Santa only sees written letters. Teddy heads out for the night, and Kate, being the lovely younger sibling that she is, follows him and his friends to see exactly what they get into while they are together. Much to her surprise, what they get into is Grand Theft Auto.
Yikes. Not good.
Yeah. Catching this all on tape, Kate meets Teddy back at home with the tape and the threat of showing it to their mom. This interaction leads them into a chase throughout the house, a shove into the Christmas tree, which then breaks a family photo on the table. Their mom enters to see the two of them wrestling, as well as the broken frame, and when she questions the two of them, Kate nearly breaks the news to her mom, but then redirects and saves Teddy from their mom's anger, or extreme anger, because she was still upset. In her disappointment and sadness, their mom shares her Christmas wish for the two of the kids to get along. Kate and her mom spend the evening decorating cookies when her mom gets called into work, leaving Teddy to stay home and look after Kate, and the two of them to complete the family's Christmas traditions together. Kate's high hopes of enjoying the evening in all of its Christmas glory with her brother come crashing down as he leaves her to just head to his room. Kate instead chooses to enjoy some freshly baked Christmas cookies while watching more family home video reruns when she makes a startling discovery: a hand delivering a present in the corner of the screen. Filled with excitement, Kate shows Teddy, and together they make an elaborate scheme to catch Santa on tape delivering their present. They stake out in a closet, their house booby-trapped in true Home Alone fashion, and awake to find the Santa in their living room. Santa heads on his way, and the two kids dash outside to find Santa's sleigh and reindeer. With their camera in tow and Kate leading the way, the two climb into Santa's sleigh and are whisked away as Santa continues on with his duties of delivering presents, not knowing of his stowaways in the sleigh.
Yeah.
The temperature drops as the sleigh climbs into the air, and Kate finds herself shivering and severely underdressed. She then makes a split-second decision to make her presence known to Santa and tap his shoulder to ask for a blanket. This decision results in a massive crash in Chicago, separating the reindeer from the sleigh and Santa's sack of toys getting dropped somewhere in the city. Stressed and on a time crunch, Santa shares that Christmas must go on, especially if they want to avoid causing another world war.
The Dark Ages. Yeah.
And with Christmas spirit dropping at an alarming rate, as well as Santa's magical powers gone with his hat, Teddy and Kate insist on helping Santa gather the reindeer, find the sack of presents, and ensure Christmas is saved. First step for the crew is to find a form of transportation, which takes them to a nearby restaurant, and it is here that we find some adults who are Santa believers and others who couldn't care less about who Santa says he is. Getting ran out of the restaurant with no one reluctantly handing over their vehicles, the three head outside where Teddy shows off his sneaky skill of Grand Theft Auto, which then results in a chase around the city between Santa, Teddy, and Kate, and Chicago PD.
Yeah.
While the three are on the search for Santa's reindeer. With the police hot on their heels and the reindeer spotted, Santa sends Kate to get the reindeer while Santa attempts to lose the cops. His plan fails when he crashes the car and takes the blame instead of Teddy taking it as he was, wanting to. We again come across a true Santa believer and a skeptical, curious Santa believer in the cops that pulled over Teddy and Santa. And we seem to be seeing this theme throughout the movie where we have some true believers and some not so big Santa believers.
Yep.
And through a series of Santa getting arrested and a concert in the prison, as well as the two of the kids, Kate and Teddy, heading out to find Santa's sack of toys. I really hate that. What's it? Is there another word for that?
He calls it his sack of toys.
I know. I literally hate it, though. Bag. I'll just stick with sack.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know. Santa calls it a sack, so.
And with Teddy and Kate on the search for Santa's sack of toys, they find themselves in a little bit of a pickle. They do finally find Santa's sack where it's a portal, actually, to the North Pole. Mm-hmm. They find Santa's elves and his office and hall of letters, while Teddy is dealing with some not so great guys in the real world, Chicago.
Yeah.
It's both technically the real world.
Yeah.
And with the help of the elves, the kids are able to find Santa, and they are able to find Santa and rescue him. And the three of them together ensure that Christmas is saved. With Teddy and Kate's help, Santa is able to deliver all of the presents by sunrise. And Santa goes to take the kids home, where he shares that he actually, in fact, had never lost his Christmas powers. Mm-hmm. And it was his plan all along to get them to help out and to help Teddy ultimately find his Christmas cheer. Mm-hmm. And we end with a sweet little gift from Santa.
A sweet little gift for Teddy. Unfortunately for Teddy, all he wanted for Christmas was his dad, to see his dad again. And Santa was like, I don't have that power to do that, but here is a little something for you. And it was a little ornament where when he looked into it, he saw himself transform into his dad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And with that, Santa did, in fact, make Teddy's Christmas wish come true and ultimately turned him back into a Santa believer. Mm-hmm. And that is the Christmas Chronicles.
Yep. All right. So let's get into it then.
Okay, so for our first category, plot.
I gave the plot 4 1/4 candy canes out of 5.
Oh, you're bringing a quarter out for regular in-season play.
I mean, I was kind of looking at these movies, and I felt like the quarters were necessary at this point. Like, there was just little nuances. So yeah, I'm bringing out the quarters already.
Yeah, that's fair.
I thought it was a very typical Christmas trope in that, you have an unbeliever and then somehow Santa shows up and then they have to believe in Santa again. But it was just so well done in that normal Christmas trope. I think the adventures within the movie that happened were very fun and engaging. Like, it's one thing to say that your husband doesn't like Christmas movies, and that's one that he will sit and watch.
Yeah.
It was very fun, and there was a good humor in there. Like when Santa, he goes into the restaurant, and you have the hostess, and she's like all in. Mm-hmm. She's like, you're Santa, like, you know all this about me, and she's like gonna help him out. Versus everyone else in the restaurant, he's talking to them like very specifically, and they're like, this guy is insane, like he needs to get locked up. And he's saying things like, hey, I know you like this collecting baseball cards, here's a mint 1952 baseball card or something like that. And they're like, how do you know this stuff? And it was just, those moments were very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was very well done. I also scored it 4 candy canes out of 5 candy canes. It was the typical, trying to help somebody find their Christmas cheer, but the way that they went about it was so cool. I feel like it was very Paranormal Activity-ish.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked it because it wasn't scary at all. But like it was like through the lens of the video camera as well as just like not.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And I liked the aspect of the true believers.
Yeah.
So like when Kate got into Santa's office and the elves found her, they like looked in this book of true believers, and there's apparently like true Santa believers who have just always believed in Santa and always had Christmas cheer.
Yeah.
So you could kind of see that like throughout the movie that there were like some just like true believers, and then some people were like meh.
Yeah.
But I really liked that part.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like,
I liked how it was it was set in 2018, and I'm pretty sure it came out in 2018 or 2019, which is like very much we were like in the height of technology. Like, you have your iPhones, were AirPods invented at that time? I say that time.
I literally don't know.
But, but then you have the camcorder in this movie. And so somehow you felt like it was modern because of I think the production of it, the production of the movie itself. But within the movie, it almost felt a little dated. But I enjoyed it somehow. Because who uses a camcorder anymore?
Yeah.
And that was the whole point of it. And I did not see those kids really with a cell phone at all, which I thought was odd. Actually. Yeah. Like Teddy didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
And Kate didn't have one either. She's a little bit younger, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I feel like it had to be set in a different world because like he was actually delivering presents, and you saw their mom like find the presents that Santa delivered.
Yeah.
And she didn't bat an eye. She was like, "Oh, Santa got you that. Oh, you wrote Santa this year? Santa like made your wish come true?"
Yeah.
She was like, it's totally casual. Like, Santa is real.
Yeah.
And so I felt like it had to be, like...
a different world.
Literally a different world. Because I feel like most movies, you don't see the parents' reaction.
Yeah.
The only other one that I'm thinking of is, like, Santa Claus. Where you see some adults, but, like, their mom was not involved at all. And she was just like, yeah, Santa got you that.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you be weirded out?
I would be. I'm like, I don't know where this present came from. Like,
why is this random box in my living room?
Yeah. I'd have been like, okay.
And then there were some adults that he ran into that they were like, it's Santa.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I think where I kind of docked it, and like sometimes I was like, like it really made me wonder. I don't know if you caught on, but it gave me very much so like either they made Santa have like a very severe God complex, or they were making like allusions to Jesus.
Yeah, I felt that way too, because like some of the things that he said, like the gift to Teddy, he goes, I don't have the power to do that. But, and it's like, it's a weird thing, and you might not think much about it, but I was like, it just felt like it gave room for, but there's someone who is.
Well, he literally said, I quoted this because I was like, many references to Jesus in IDK. He said, baptism by fire.
Yeah. He said baptism by fire. I think the whole point of the Christmas cheer was very interesting. Like he has to do it because Christmas spirit is something that people need in order to do good in the world.
Yeah.
But I didn't get a God complex from him because it wasn't like, you know, when people have a God complex, they like want to be praised. He didn't care. He just wanted to see people like joyful. Do you feel different?
Yes and no, because like all of the times that he was like, he literally knew like everything that was gonna happen.
Uh-huh.
And he could have made everything happen, you know?
Yeah.
And he was just like, I don't know, just let it play out. So like sometimes I see God complex because he's like, I want to lift Christmas cheer.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I think that he wants people to think of him and like believe in him.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but
also I love the other one. This one came to mind. The Saint Nick comment. He goes, they call me Saint Nick. He goes, I haven't been bestowed sainthood yet, or something like that, which was also a really interesting thing because that's like a Catholic thing.
Yeah. They did stop in front of a Catholic church at one point. There was another note that I saw that I was gonna... Oh, and then like where I also kind of had some issues. I don't know if this like leans into my God complex thing or whatever, and like where I'm confused about it, but like I don't know how I feel about him being okay with like all of these rules being broken.
That was one thing I was like kind of like, Santa, you're being very naughty. Like, you know, just Grand Theft Auto and running away from Chicago PD. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. Being okay with Teddy doing that stuff. I mean, I was a little like suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I was just like, I'm like confused and interested all at the same time, probably because we just came back from watching what we saw in the theater, and
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting it's an interesting plot overall. I think it gives room for conversation, which I think it's a fun movie, but if a movie gives room for conversation, that's also a sign of a really good plot.
That is true.
And that's where I think it got high scores for me. And then I docked it. Yeah, like you said, there's just a few questions where I'm like, it could have been more well-rounded. I still don't understand the Santa thing altogether because I think in every movie, the parents just are like, do they forget what presents they bought their kids?
Well, also, were you not curious? Because the house was not decorated at all.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there were presents. And then presents from their aunt just showed up.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Bro, I was like, what?
Yeah. So, overall, pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, next category.
Main characters. All right, so who are your main characters?
I ultimately decided Santa, Kate, and Teddy, but I had a tough time, like, wondering if Teddy was more of, like, a supporting character.
Oh, I thought Santa was a supporting character.
Really?
And Teddy and Kate, it's about Teddy and Kate.
See, okay, how I landed on it was if they have a scene for themselves, then they're, like, essentially a main character. I think that's how I'm going to go about it this season.
Yeah.
Unless, you know, there's just, like, one random scene of a supporting character. But, like, Santa had too many times of, like, just him.
And I understand that, but how I view a supporting character versus a main character is, like, in terms of the plot, like, who is getting the lesson or who's involved in, like, driving?
Well, he's giving the lesson.
Getting the lesson.
I know, but he's giving the lesson.
I know, but supporting characters tend to give the lesson and then the main characters get the lesson.
That's true. But also, he's too big of an actor and too expensive of an actor to be a supporting character.
Okay.
Anyways, you're scoring on Kate and Teddy.
I'm scoring on Kate and Teddy. You're scoring on all three of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for me, I gave them 3.25 candy canes out of 5. I think that they were both crucial to the storyline, like Teddy and Kate. You couldn't have the whole scenario without Teddy being essentially a criminal. and because she has to catch him in the act, and then that traps him in her plan to catch Santa. You know, it's that whole thing. And I think that the character arc of Teddy was probably the most important thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Of the entire movie. It was, and that's why I made him a main character, because in the end, Kate was fine. She was chilling, but it was like almost explicitly focusing on Teddy. And I was like, I felt like it gave him main character vibes.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. But I think where I docked it was Kate was the reason why Santa got thrown off course, you know? And it's like, and the whole reason is that she wanted to catch Santa and put this video on YouTube, which I also felt was kind of naughty. Like, as a true believer, why would you want to out Santa?
Yeah.
Knowing that could, like, ruin what he's been doing for this entire time.
Yeah.
And she got into the sleigh because she wanted to record more. And I was like, that's a little greedy, you know? So there's just, like, little things like that. I think that Teddy, his character arc was a little drastic, because all of a sudden, and like, it came from driving a stolen car with Santa. That's how it started. It felt like before that, he was kind of like, I'm just not into this at all. Like, even though he saw Santa, he was kind of like, no. But then once he was hanging out with Santa and they were driving a stolen car, then he was like, like, I'm into this. Yeah. And it was just like, they were good. They just weren't the greatest. And I think that Kate did annoy me a little bit. And so did Teddy, you know, obviously.
Yeah, she played annoying younger sibling very well. And
yes.
Annoying, like, preteen.
Yes.
Early teen very well.
Yes.
So I'm scoring off of the 3 of them, and I gave them 3 candy canes out of 5. I think partially because Santa, I was confused about him. Like, I was like, should I support you supporting these kids, like, breaking all these rules and doing all these things? Like, they live in Massachusetts, and then this was set in Chicago. And he's like, yeah, sure. Go run around the city.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't even know if he knew about them getting caught by, like, those bad guys. I don't...
Also, Chicago's, like, very dangerous.
Yeah. I probably should have put that in the plot, but maybe I'll say it in the cringe. But I'll get there.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I don't know how I feel about Santa. And then also, I couldn't tell if he was being, like, dad figure, brother, best friend, like, uncle, like... I couldn't tell, like, what he was trying to be.
Yeah.
I think he was just trying to be Santa, but, like, there were moments of all of that I was like,
Yeah.
I'm confused. I really liked Teddy. I think even from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, you can just tell that he was just, like...
struggling.
Yeah. Like, a kid in mourning.
Yeah.
And he has all of this pressure, like... His mom put so much pressure on him.
That is true.
And, like, he's just like, I'm just a kid who lost my dad. Like,
yeah.
Even though from, like, the family videos, he was always just annoying.
Yeah.
But you could tell that he was just, like, he was struggling, but still, like, deep down a good kid.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he had a big change. But also, I'm like... I think it was always there, and so it just took the adventures to bring it out. But, like, you say it started when he was driving with Santa. And I think it started just like Christmas Eve with Kate. Like she was like, let's do it, come on. And he's like, okay, fine. And then he comes in with all of those snacks and he's like, okay, we'll like stake out and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he's always like kind of protective. Like when she was like, let's get in the sleigh, he's like, no, like don't do it. If you break your neck, mom's gonna kill me. Like he's kind of being protective and stuff.
Yeah.
And being a sweet older brother. So it was always there, but he just like, he had to see it. I think that was where the character arc came in, was that he had to believe in himself and like, you know that he's okay and stuff like that. But Kate, I liked her and I didn't like her the entire time.
Yeah.
I loved her Christmas cheer, but everything else I couldn't stand her.
Yeah.
Like with the reindeer, when she found them, she was so aggressive. Like the reindeer was literally like, please get away. Like, don't touch me. Like a dog. Yeah. You know? And maybe that's why I feel this way, because my dogs are a little reactive. Like, if you ever see my dogs out and about, don't pet them. Yeah. And, like, that's how she was with the reindeer. Like, they were, like, backing up, like, please don't pet, please don't pet. And she's like, it's fine. I love you. It's fine. Yeah. I'm fine. Like, let me touch you. And I'm like, ew. Yeah. Ew. Yeah. But, and she was just like, I liked her with the elves. I loved when she spoke Elvish. Yeah. But anything that didn't have to do with Christmas, I was like, ew.
Well, and then what's funny, you mentioned the reindeer with Kate, is like, she was aggressive with trying to get acquainted with the reindeers. And when the reindeers were like, we need to go get Santa, she's like, slow down, I'm not used to this. And I'm like, you were aggressive with them. They're like aggressively going after this. You got to just kind of deal with it. Yeah. Yeah.
I know. I did make a note right here that I just saw. Teddy's evolution of believing is confusing but sweet. Yeah. I think because, like I said, it was always there. Mm-hmm. And he wrote a letter to Santa that same year. So he's always believed.
I know, and then he wasn't in the true believer thing. That also threw me off too, because how does someone who doesn't believe in Santa, not a true believer, and he writes a letter?
See, I think he was always a true believer, though. That's why I'm like,
did Santa plan all this?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think, where I get God complex. Either way, it was confusing, and so that's why I gave them 3 candy canes out of 5.
All right, so aesthetic. What did you give it?
I gave it 4 candy canes out of 5.
I gave it 3 3.75 candy canes out of 5.
So close.
Close.
But I loved it. I loved the mix of like modern day and throwback, like you mentioned. Yeah. I loved how Santa looked.
Oh my gosh.
I loved his suit, if you call it that. Like it was it seemed like an actual literal like suit. Yeah. Like he had a vest, he had pants, he had a coat. Yeah. And like the fur lining. His vest was like fur lined as well. Yeah. And it was beautiful. The buttons. Mwah. And I kind of liked how it was like grungy, like kind of looked messy. Yeah. Like he was actually working.
Yeah. And I think just anything North Pole related was just absolutely stunning.
Oh my gosh.
Anything, the sleigh, beautiful. The reindeer, beautiful. The elves, loved them.
They were so cute. They were so different than like any other elf that you've seen.
Yeah.
You know, the closest that you'll get is an animated movie. Yeah. And obviously they're animated, but like they were still different than other animated elves. I really loved it.
The sack of presents and like her just crawling through the sack of presents, I thought was so cool. And then you see this whole like descent into the North Pole, and then you see his office, and it was just
the hall of letters and like it was like a lift. Like it was supposed to be like a library ladder type thing, but it was a lift version
for the elves.
Oh, I didn't even get that part. Probably.
The attention to detail when it came to anything North Pole and Santa was just so good,
Mm-hmm.
and I think in the aesthetic they kind of gave some kind of reason reasonability of how Santa does all he does in one
Mm-hmm.
night, because like the world like
That's like the
navigator thing.
wormhole.
Yeah, it's like a wormhole. You just see like all of the big cities like right there,
It
and then
reminds me of Halloween Town. Is it the
yeah,
first or the second
I
one?
think it's the second one.
When they're like going through time or something?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, and I was just like, wow. So anything North Pole related was just fantastic. I think there was a good contrast between him and his Christmas cheer, and like it being like super effervescent, and
Mm-hmm.
then like what was happening in the world, but I did kind of feel like everything else was a bit bleh
Yeah,
because of that.
I I can agree, but I kind of liked how it all
Mhm.
worked together.
Yeah.
Um, but I did make a note. I was like, does Massachusetts look like that?
I don't know. I've never been to
It gave
Massachusetts.
me more like New York, which I guess that's northeast,
Yeah.
but and I've never been to Massachusetts. I've never really seen it, but I'm like, does it look like that? Like in
Well,
my head, I don't picture that.
where's Boston?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, that makes a little bit of sense. Like if they were living in.
Still to me, no.
Okay. I mean, to me, it kind of makes sense when you think about. I don't know where in Massachusetts, but if they were in Boston, that kind of makes sense.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I was just like, question mark. And
Yeah.
then did Chicago look accurate? Because I've never been, but you have.
You've never been? You
No.
didn't go to that tournament?
No,
Oh, okay.
I was in college by then.
Okay. Well, to be fair, I was in like a very specific part of Chicago, and it's been a long time, but it didn't look like that to me.
Mm.
Like,
See, that also too, I was like, Chicago? Question mark?
yeah, it was a bit confusing for me, because also there was this like stretch of street, and my dad said Miracle Mile, and my mom thought Florida,
Hmm.
but they obviously weren't in there, and he was like, no, there's one in Chicago, and I was like, okay, I don't know. So I was a little bit confused about
Mm.
where they were.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But everything else I really
Yeah.
pretty much enjoyed.
Yeah, and I think even though I kind of enjoyed the aspect, I think I kind of docked it an aesthetic too, was that it is set in 2018. The movie came out around that same time for us,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt older than that. There was not an iPhone in sight. I felt like the police officers were also like operating not super, like not in this current modern day.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt a little dated, like almost like early 2000s.
Mm.
It gave me that kind of feeling
Mm.
in a way. And I don't know why.
See, I didn't get that too much. It felt very relatable to me.
I think all of it felt relatable. I just think aesthetically in 2018 and 2019 there's a lot more that you see in terms of like the technology aspect. I mean, I was in college at that time. Everyone had everyone had an iPhone.
Yeah.
There was no way that you didn't have it, and like, you know, you were starting. I think this sounds so weird. It feels like it wasn't that long ago, but then in reality, we're in 2024. It was like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, I feel like they didn't completely hit on the time. And I docked it a little bit for that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Okay, next category. Overall Christmas cheer.
I gave it 3.5 candy canes out of 5. I feel like the Christmas cheer aspect where they show the bad, like why you need it, and it's like all these people going bad. Kind of. I liked, I guess, the reverse aspect of it.
Wait, what? Explain that.
So, you know, sometimes when you see these movies, it's like them proving to the, like, people proving to the main character that when you have Christmas cheer, like, everything's good and fun and light. Versus this movie, it was like they were running out of Christmas cheer because Santa was thrown off course, and then you saw the repercussions. You saw more people going into the jail cell. You saw people wanting to make bad decisions. You know,
okay.
So it's like it almost enhanced Christmas cheer by showing the negative consequences of not having it.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
that makes sense. I am shocked that you gave it 3.5 though. I went full 5.
You went full 5.
I went 5 candy canes out of 5. I thought it was very much so Christmas cheer, probably because of the negative aspect.
Yeah.
But I loved like Kate's enthusiasm for Christmas. I loved Santa. Like he had this like joy-filled, childlike excitement for Christmas that was like really infectious. And I liked everything Christmas, like the look of everything Christmas and North Pole related. And then I liked how the decorations just kind of reflected the mood of everything. Like they were so, I probably should have said this in aesthetic, but it's okay. It still fits in overall Christmas cheer, but they paid so much attention to detail. Like in the family videos, there was like an elf on the shelf, like right over the dad's shoulder. And then whenever they were trying to set up for catching Santa on tape, like Kate covered the elf's eyes. She's like, don't see me doing something naughty. And I loved how the house was decorated in the home videos, and then how it got decorated in the end. But then you could always see that like Kate always had the Christmas cheer, because even though there was like a tree up in their living room and it wasn't lit and stuff, Kate had a fully decorated tree in her room, like a little tabletop tree, and then she had like Christmas lights in her room. So I liked how it all matched the mood and the cheer. And it was definitely all about Christmas.
And I would agree with you on the Santa bit. Like, I felt like he didn't let his place or the circumstance like affect his mission of like spreading Christmas cheer. But going back to what we were talking about before, then it raised a question for me of like, are we promoting bad behavior? And I don't necessarily want that in Christmas cheer. So I think that was the biggest thing of why I docked it, was because I think if you're not careful to understand the whole way that they're going about showing Christmas cheer, then it almost seems like a promotion of being naughty, and then even then you can be Santa's little helper, or even Santa is naughty himself. And I think that's a good lesson to know that like Santa isn't perfect. He's a human being in his mythical figureness. But also it's just a little too heavy on that point, I think.
That's fair.
So
for as far as overall Christmas cheer goes, I was okay with it because it was for the Christmas cheer. But it was still confusing for sure. Okay, last category.
All right, supporting characters. So my supporting character was Santa. That was it.
Mine was everyone else.
I just felt like everyone else didn't have enough of a role to be a supporting character, but I said Santa was my supporting character. But that being said, even if I looked at everyone else, I gave him 4.5 candy canes. I thought he had a great balance between sassy and compassionate with Teddy and Kate, that it created like a cool dynamic between them, where, you know, I felt like he empowered both of them. Even though there was things that they did that was questionable, I think overall he empowered both of them to really just work for the sake of others. You know, I think that was another thing that I liked, was Teddy was in a very tough situation with the criminals.
Yeah.
And like he was in a very scary situation, but he was still like in it for the mission, you know? Like after that, I think I'd been like, we need to go home. We're done.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, we need to finish this.
Yeah.
You know? Kate didn't have to deal with all of that on the other end, but I think that was because Santa like really empowered him to like fully embrace the role that was put on him, that I think he just didn't want to do, because he was, like you said, mourning, grieving, and he was a kid.
Yeah.
You know? But I think that Santa did his job in elevating the main characters, in my opinion.
Fair. My supporting characters, like I said, were everyone else. And I gave them 4 out of 5 candy canes. I thought it was really nice, you know, the true believers and then like the not believers out in the world. It was so nice to see that.
Yeah.
The cops were hilarious, especially the true believer one. He was like, after, okay, so because the true believing cop, he saw the reindeer flying and he like accepted it. He was like, Santa's real, like reindeer were flying, all this stuff. Yeah. And everybody's like, you're crazy, dude, you're crazy. And so after Santa has like this full-on concert in prison, all of the other cops are like having a good time, and then the skeptical believing cop is like, what the heck is going on? Like, what in the world is happening? And then the believing cop, he looks at him and he goes, crazy? Reindeer weren't flying. Ha! Who's crazy now? I quit. And he's just like, I'm done with this. And he was so funny.
Yeah. That actor was in New Girl. He plays Winston, and I was just like, he is hilarious.
Yeah. And then I loved the hostess at the restaurant. Like, she was just like anything for the Christmas cheer. Yeah. And she was so good. Yeah. I felt like all of the supporting characters, they played their job well. Yeah. And they helped the movie go forward and move on. The only one that I didn't necessarily like, and I would have docked it more if she would have had more of a moment, was their mom. Yeah. Because she, like,
she was kind of absent.
Yeah, like selfish. And I understand, like, you're mourning the loss of your husband, but, like, you have 2 kids. Yeah. And, like, yes, you're suddenly, like, supporting your family all on your own, and like, yes, you're having to figure out all of these emotions, but like literally she puts everything on Teddy. Yeah. Like everything on him. And she's just like, I literally told you to like have this place decorated, and like your dad would have had it decorated, and like yada 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 yada. And then her and Kate were having a moment, and Kate was like, Dad really loved the sprinkles on the cookies, and she looked at her mom like, oh, sorry, I know I'm not supposed to mention it. And it's like, ew. Yeah. Why are you like that with your kids? Yeah. Like, they're also going through it. I'm sorry, honey. You got to suck it up.
Yeah. If anything, they're going through it a little bit more than you are, because it seemed like their dynamic was he was very, very involved and present. And so it's like, imagine losing that. Like, I can't. Yeah. You know? And so I think that was the kids' norm. I know that the mom probably spent more years with him, but their entire life up until that point was with him in it. Like, that's life changing for them. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so she talked at a whole point because I just couldn't stand her.
That's fair. So with that, we have our totals. I gave it a total of 19.25 candy canes out of 25.
And I gave it a total of 20 candy canes out of 25.
For an average of 19.63. 19.63 candy canes out of 25. I was trying to figure out how I wanted to round it, but we'll do 19.63 candy canes out of 25. But we have the cringe factor. Dun 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 dun.
What'd you give it for cringe?
I'm gonna stick with it. We were talking about it more, and I feel like I could have gone higher, but I gave it half an icicle.
Okay.
Yeah, at the time, I just felt like I really didn't feel any cringe when I watched it. There wasn't anything that really stood out to me. But then when we talked about it more, I was like, oh, well, there was definitely things that stood out to me, but it just wasn't in the forefront of my mind at the time.
Yeah, I can see that. Because I didn't feel the cringe the first time I watched the movie, but like judging it, I was like, ew.
Yeah.
These things are a little cringy. I gave it 1 icicle out of 5.
Okay.
Simply for the fact that, okay, I told you I was going to get into it.
Yeah.
Chicago. We know that it's
like one of the
generally like not a safe place.
Yeah.
And it's very busy.
Yeah.
Those streets were empty. I know it's Christmas Eve, but like not everybody cares about Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And those streets were empty.
I mean, there was no one there.
And then the cringe with the criminals. That was so bad.
Yeah.
Like, first off, I was like, okay, Chicago, and we're gonna have criminals show up. Like, okay. And then when they go to, like, I don't even know, like, the main leader dude.
Yeah.
He was like, go throw him in the dumpsters. And not recycling. He's compost. And he has a fiery furnace right there. And he's like, put him in the compost dumpster.
It gave me Nebuchadnezzar vibes.
I was like, ew, what is that? And then literally when she runs into the elves, they're doing like the floss dance. I was just like, that's just not gonna age well. You know, like we know that.
Yeah.
But like a new kid watching this, they're gonna be like, what are those elves doing?
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, those criminals were very much, they were weird. They were weird. I guess they didn't register in my mind, but it was like, I think that showed very much it was a kid's movie.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what? Who are these guys?
You probably didn't register it because like when the elves came in to like completely whoop them, that was just iconic.
That was so good.
But the criminals themselves, I'm like, ew, that is disgusting.
They were, and now that I look back on it, I was like, they were not scary at all.
No.
So that gives us an average cringe of 3/4. I'm gonna go with 0.75 icicles. It's so hard to say 3/4 icicles.
Yeah.
So that gives
it'd be 3/4 of an icicle.
3/4 of an icicle. That's still such a mouthful.
Proper grammar.
Yeah. Not an English major either. Anyways, that gives us 0.7 icicles out of 5. And that gives us an overall total for the Christmas Chronicles of 18.88 candy canes out of 25.
It's a pretty high score.
That's a pretty high score starting out. This is a tough category, though.
It is a really tough category.
Yeah. And then also there are some other big movies coming up in different categories. So, we got our first movie done. But let's see how Christmas Chronicles stacks up with everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be super interesting.
So we will be covering next week Candy Cane Lane, starring Eddie Murphy. It is a very new one, and if you are curious to watch it, it is on Amazon Prime Video. So if you want to get ahead of the game, go ahead and watch that movie.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next week when we cover that movie.
Yep.
Anyways, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Adriana.
Have a holly jolly day. Bye.
Bye.